Okay, I'm making this video for a number of reasons. First, I want to remind people that for 2 million years, at least, humans evolved as a migrating species that was basically homeless. Homelessness should not be viewed as categorically negative. Homelessness has a negative connotation because, unfortunately, of bad examples that we see. For example, in the cities, you'll see homeless people on drugs. That's the number one thing that everyone sees. And unfortunately, they ruin the reputation there. The other thing is mental illness, which is connected to drug use, but it also could be separate. And you'll see how that ruins people's view of homelessness. But those are just, again, bad examples. It's almost like that's just stereotyping, and it's wrong because you're trying to generalize. And what I'm advocating in my books and on this channel is virtuous homelessness, which is basically just being a good person while living outdoors. And that means no drug use. My mental health is incredibly well. It's even better than when I lived indoors. I felt like living indoors, if anything, made my mental health worse because it just traps you physically, literally, but also like psychologically. And also there's just more bullshit that you're like listening to TV or listening to crap that you don't get and you don't need in nature. In nature, there's just plenty of there's just a lot of more, like, it's just more soothing, like a lot more views, natural sounds, fresh air, open space, no ceiling, stuff like that. So if anything, my mental health is better, and my physical health is a lot better too, because I walk around everywhere. I also advocate not driving because I think driving's bad for community. I think it's bad. It's just unnecessary, and we fabricated this psychological fallacy that we need cars when we don't. And I mean, it is what it is. You can read my books. I explain all of this stuff. I just make YouTube videos just to kind of bring light or life to these topics. But what I want to say is we can't criminalize homelessness because that's going really in a dystopian future. And I'll explain why. Just think about this. If you're choosing to sleep outdoors, provided your climate allows that. Like right now, I'm in a latitude where that is possible. If I was in a higher latitude and it's winter time, no, obviously I'm not going to sleep outdoors. Although one could, I suppose, with a tent and a heater. But what I'm saying is, if your climate provides, whether it's summer in a northern climate or just you're in a southern place, we can't criminalize homelessness because that would be an attack on humanity. That would be an attack on just your right to privacy, your right to live. These are 14th Amendment rights. They're implied rights, but they're nonetheless freedom-based rights. And just think about that. I mean, in the past 100 years, it has been normalized to live within walls and a ceiling, right? But not everyone wants to do that. And there's nothing wrong with living like a camping lifestyle where you have a tent, you sleep in a sleeping bag. You don't even need a tent. You could just use a sleeping bag and sleep wherever you want. That's obviously, with common sense, safe. Like, you're not going to sleep on a highway or on a road or in a busy parking lot. But if you're sleeping just somewhere safe that's still in society, even if it's like, I mean, the number of areas, again, are kind of limitless, but they are limited because with real property, think about, and this is a modern fabrication, but think about how every square inch of this country or any country you're in is owned by someone, whether it's private or public. So wherever you go, you're kind of trespassing, and that's not right either, because God made this world large, and he made it without borders. If you look at Earth from space, there are no borders. These are all fabricated human things. And I'm not saying we should get rid of that, but when it starts infringing on personal liberty to just do something as basic as sleeping wherever you want to sleep, then I need to advocate for people who choose to live outdoors. It's as simple as that. Your life is not better just because you're living in a house. Like, you're choosing to live in a house for comfort, for storage, and that's all good, and I have no issue with that. But you can't tell someone or even criminalize someone for choosing to sleep outdoors in a safe, reasonable place that's maybe public, it may be owned by someone else, but does that really matter? I mean, obviously it's a case-by-case situation where you sleep, but I think just generally, even if it is on, let's say, a commercial property, or it is on a government public property, we can't exclude those two places, because then there's nothing left. There's nowhere to go. I mean, all of nature is owned by the government in some way or form, whether it's a national park or it's a natural reserve or just a natural area. It's going to be owned, if not by the state, by the federal government. So if you think about it, if you're not allowed to even sleep in the nature, like, you're truly not a free person. And that's kind of what this video is about. Like, I advocate for freedom, and that's not a free society if you can't even sleep unbothered in a natural setting. I argue that most places are natural settings, and I respect private property rights. Like, if I owned a property, I don't want someone sleeping on my property, of course. But again, commercial and government/public places, especially the latter, government and public, like, those need to relax and allow people to be free and sleep there if they want. So there's a variation depending on whatever city you're in. Homelessness could be criminalized, like sleeping outdoors could be criminalized and be taken to jail. And if it's multiple offenses, you can get an extended sentencing. Just think about that. Like, that's a dystopian society, in my opinion. If you can literally be sleeping in the woods and be jailed for that. It's as if, and this is why it's a dystopian, it's because it's as if we're living without any control anymore, and it's like cows. The analogy is like wild roaming buffalo living their natural existence, going wherever they wish and please, versus CAFOs, confined animal feeding operations, where we put cows in these tightly packed lots where they can't leave, and they're just standing in their shit all day, and they live for a year until they're slaughtered. If that's what you want suburbia to become, urban and suburban places to become, CAFOs, where you can't move, you can't leave, you have to just live in your shit in one spot and die like that, that's a dystopian. And I'm not going to live in a society that's like that. Obviously, that's a bit of extreme. Like, we're not telling people you can't move, you can't leave, but if you think about it, you kind of can't. If you don't own property and you don't have the financial means, because it's extremely ridiculous and many people are priced out and the poor keep getting poorer, then you kind of are jailed. You're either jailed literally, which I'm really against jailing homeless people, or you're jailed figuratively, in the sense like you can't leave your job, you can't leave your apartment, your house, because you're locked in and you can't go anywhere else. Like, hell no, I'm not going to accept that in any shape or form. People can go wherever they want, do whatever job they want, go however they please, humans are meant to be free. The human spirit is meant to be free. And again, we've been this way for millions of years until recently with real property laws and restrictions. And I get it. There is a sense of power dynamics. Like we don't want people unfettered, just wantonly wasting or even like it even comes down, unfortunately, to reproduction. Like we don't even want people wantonly reproducing and stuff. There's a power control between people who own and who are wealthy, and they're comparatively, it's a pyramid. They're few, and the masses are most of us. I'm not trying to get too much into that stuff, because I do think it's superficial to a degree and not wholly true, but there is a sense of trying to limit people, and that's kind of like what government and laws do. And if we start criminalizing homelessness, which is just a natural state of being, again, it should not have a negative connotation because of bad examples. It can have a very positive connotation if you do it virtuously. But if we start criminalizing homelessness, it's going to be a bad turn for society. Like you're no longer going to be free, and you're going to live in a policed state where you can go to jail as your alternative for not wanting to live in your house or your apartment. Like that's fucked up to me. Like if you're not happy with your job, you're not happy with where you live, and you want to move because it's only natural. The human spirit wants change. I'm not saying daily, but the human spirit wants to move around freely, and money should not be a factor that's causing people to live less of their potential. So yeah, I mean, I hope some of these points resonated, and I hope people can just relax. Like when people see a homeless person, don't assume that they're unhappy. Don't assume that they're doing it not by choice. For example, I'm choosing to live a camping lifestyle where I'm transient and moving. Like it's by choice, and I'm happier doing that. People don't realize that. They think it's just like a sad situation, when that's not true at all. When you see homeless people, don't assume they have mental illness. When you see homeless people, don't assume they're on drugs. Don't assume they have weapons. Don't assume they're unsafe, unfriendly. They're just like you. You're just domesticated and used to the idea of living in walls and with a ceiling. But I say this and I write about this, like, just, you're not better than anyone for living in a house or living in a car. By the way, millions of people are living in their cars, which is funny to me because it's like cars are they're more uncomfortable to live in, but we kind of like accept that more than homelessness. Like, trust me, I've lived in a car. It's very uncomfortable. You're much better off having a backpack with your essentials and using a sleeping bag and going wherever you need. You're much better off in a number of ways. But a lot of people are sleeping in their cars currently because of the ridiculous housing market. And like, that's not okay. So like, just because you have a sheetrock roof over your head, just because you have an aluminum car roof over your head, does not make you better than the person who's homeless at all. You're not better. And I'm going to explain why. Because what you're doing inside in a container of whatever is literally the same thing that they're doing, except they're doing it exposed. They're doing it out in the open. You're doing it hidden. But you're doing the same thing. You have the same needs, the same wants, the same behaviors. You eat, sleep, and shit and piss. And you scratch yourself and you scratch your armpits. and you look at YouTube and you roll around, you're having a good time, and you eat and you whatever, like you're literally having the same life, except you're in a more contained, arguably more comfortable situation. But I wouldn't even say it's more comfortable. I prefer being more exposed and stuff, just out in the elements, for a variety of reasons. But yeah, I mean, I hope this video kind of debunks some myths about homelessness and why it's not a negative thing, and why it's actually can be very positive, and why it's a natural state of being. And it has been for humans for millions of years, up until our recent education into thinking it's not normal, but it is. And you are homeless even if you are in a home. I think that's enough for this video, and I'll probably make another. But the other thing too is, like, just as long as you're being respectful, like, if you can't even piss outside, think about how natural and normal it is to pee. Like, you drink water, and so you gotta piss. Like, if you can go to jail for just pissing, obviously you shouldn't piss on, like, people's houses or on their stoops or whatever, like anywhere where people like go and sit and shit. But if you're just gonna go to like some bush in some natural area and just piss on it, like, you shouldn't be criminally culpable for that in any way. It's just normal. Like, who cares? This one lady yesterday was like, you know, it's not really great for kids to see homelessness. And I thought about that and how limited her view was on that, because why shouldn't kids see homelessness? It's, again, the natural state of being, and we're doing the same things that you do, except you do it hidden. Like, we're doing the same exact things, except you do it hiding. And, like, I'm not about shunning or hiding things from kids or young people, because why? Like, they should know what adults do. I'm not talking about like explicit shit. I'm talking about just like normal everyday life stuff. Why would we ever hide kids from that? Like, kids should know about all the stuff adults do, including like our financials. They should know about how stupid we are in so many ways. But the idea of like, why should someone, if you're homeless, be ashamed and have to hide? You know what I mean? It's this abuse of power, quite frankly. And a lot of homeless people are scared. They feel like they have to hide. And that's why I'm making this video, is because you don't, and you shouldn't feel that way. Fuck the system. Fuck other people. They're hypocrites. That's what it comes down to. Like, they just want to gobble up the pie and leave you with shit to die. And I know that rhymes, but it's kind of true. Like, it's just selfishness. And selfishness ends up pushing people off to the fringes, and then it brainwashes them into thinking they should feel ashamed of themselves, when that's not true in any way. So no, I'm not going to hide my homelessness, or I'm not going to hide my condition to your kids, because your kids should see reality. They should see humans, adults, and adult flaws. We show them the good things adults do. Why not show them just the reality, whether it's good or bad? I'm not gonna hide my shit from no one. I'm not saying like the way I live is how anyone should do it, or like, I'm not saying, but it just is what I do. That's all I gotta say on that. So you can do in life whatever you want to do, but yeah, to make it seem like such conditions should be hidden is just, it's pathetic. And that's why you have people living in cars, because they're kind of ashamed. But it's like, come out of your shells, don't be ashamed, and rejoin life, because we lost our sense of community with real property, which is, this is mine, that's yours, stay off of mine. And like this false notion of permanency and consistency. These things, like, life is not permanent or consistent. Your job can be taken away from you. All your savings can easily be taken away from you. And I write in my books how, but I don't want to go into that. Your health can be taken away from you. Your support of anything can be taken away from you. And you can end up very basic very quickly. So just realize that it's all good, and just stop hounding people. Let people be free in this free country, because that's what our founding fathers cared about, freedom. I mean, for fuck's sake, if you can own a gun in this country, but you can't sleep outdoors, like, what? It's almost like you can buy tobacco and alcohol, two horrible substances for the human health, but you can't even buy shrooms legally, which are proven to be great for people's mental health and physical health. It's just backwards, and I don't even know if backwards is the right term. It's just wrong, I guess. But I think that's enough for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned.